Hi, this is Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow for Expansions.com. Welcome to another edition of Cooking with Janet. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I have told you, if you're watching my Facebook page, that I have been in the process of making some buffalo liver pate. Now, some of you make liver, but I will tell you, anybody who has ever tried my buffalo liver pate loves it. In fact, when I had my Hyperspace Oversoul training class here this past January, everybody showed up iron deficient. I couldn't believe it. They were as pale as a sheet. So I made the buffalo liver pate, and they go, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like that. And trust me, they loved it. They licked it up. Their body needed it, and so therefore it tasted really good to them. So I've already kind of done the preliminaries for you, so I want to show you tell you what I've done, show you how to put it together, because it's relatively easy. So I'm going to start over here. These are my onions. I actually have about 5 of these that I cut up one day. If you were watching my Facebook, you heard that I was doing that. I sauteed it on the stove for probably 45 minutes to an hour until they get to this nice brown caramelized color. And that's what makes your liver pate nice and sweet, or the caramelization of the onions. So that's actually about 5 of these in here. So I'm going to let that sit here. This is my bag of buffalo liver. I actually have about 3 pounds in here that I broiled. About 5 minutes on each side. It's very easy to do. And once you have it broiled, it needs to cool. So I did all this in advance. I set up my grinder, which you have seen before. I did the corn in it. I've done chicken pate. And I've done a variety of things. And so I'm going to grind this twice. So here we go. Okay, but it takes just a few minutes. You can see that it's kind of large chunks here still. So I'm going to run it through a second time just to make it a little smoother. And this time I am also going to put the onions in with it, and that will help mix them in and give it a really nice flavor. The onions going in. got that all taken care of, I just move it over here. You can see how nice it turned out. And we're going to mush it all together and make it nice and smooth. Now, if it's not quite as smooth as you like it, as you start moving it around, you can add just a tiniest bit of hot water to it, and that will help to break it up. But you just have to stir it. And as you stir it, what I like to do is add in a little bit of nice sea salt. This, again, is about 3 pounds of liver and about 5 large onions. So I'm going to put in roughly around a teaspoon of salt, and you can taste it as you go just to see what suits you. And I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of pepper. And I use quite a bit of red pepper. And that just kind of gives it a little bit of a zing. You really don't taste it. So if you don't like spicy stuff, it's not a real big deal. Now, if I have the time, I like to also cook some garlic in here. I would probably put about 3 bulbs, not cloves, but bulbs of garlic, but I didn't really have the time to sit and peel it. So I'm just going to use some garlic powder in this. Give it that flavor. And a few dashes of whatever hot sauce I happen to have on hand, no particular brand. I just kind of, again, it kind of gives it a little bit of a perky flavor. And this will freeze very nicely. So you can, even though you can make a large batch, because once you take the time to do all of this, it's like, okay, you don't want to be eating it for the next year, and especially if you're one person or you have a small family, but you can make a nice batch of this, and you can put it in your freezer in portions, which is really good. The other thing I want you to be aware of, I hope you have watched the YouTube videos that show the iron filings or evidence of iron filings in your food that is iron fortified. So if you're taking iron pills, if you're taking food that is iron fortified, there's a good chance that you may be actually ingesting iron filings. So while you may not be used to eating liver, you can get a good clean source. Organic, of course, is the best because the liver does filtrate a lot of toxins in the body, and so we want to try and get as clean a liver as you possibly can. This, as I mentioned before, is buffalo. And it is really, really good, and it will help satisfy you if you're feeling lethargic, if you have, if you're anemic. A lot of times females around their menstrual cycles, they need to have iron because they lose so much blood, so that needs to be replaced. So this is really good, and like I said, you can put this in your freezer and eat it at your own discretion, but it is fabulous. And again, the secret to making really good chopped liver is in caramelizing those onions. Now, if you like eggs, which I'm not a big egg eater, you can also put in a few hard-boiled eggs. Just run those through your grinder as well, and they will come out and make this, again, nice and smooth. But this looks really great the way it is. So, anyway, chopped liver, that's the first thing I want to show you. So let me set this aside here. The next thing I'm going to show you is I want to help you understand how easy it is to pull things out of your freezer. I talked to you when I made this particular meat before. We made an Italian style, and this one is seasoned actually for a Mexican nacho dish. It's just basically your ground buffalo, and I have in there shredded turnips, I have cauliflower, onion, garlic, all kinds of things. Whatever veggies I have on hand, I think this one actually has some shredded broccoli in it. So it's a really great mix. So this was in my freezer. I'm going to pull that out. And these are frozen beans that I made. Now, as you know, I often use canned beans, but my preference is to make them myself. So I got some organic beans. I cooked them on my stove one day, and I put a bunch of them in my freezer, and I put them in about 2-cup packages. So it depends on what you need. And, you know, I know they always say don't refreeze things, but in my opinion, sometimes having things refrozen, yes, you do lose a little bit of quality, but at least it's fresh. So I spread those out on the bottom, and I just mash them up a little bit. This is about 2 cups of red, organic red azuki beans, and that's going to be the bottom of my Mexican dish. And as I mentioned, the basic meat, I think it's, if you want to look up the YouTube, I think it's called chili con carne. But that is the basic meat recipe, which we do. I do Italian with it, and I do all kinds of things. So here we go. And this meat I'm just going to put on top. And again, this is right out of my freezer. Now, if you're one person, you can freeze it in smaller portions. You can also, if you have Pyrex, which will go from the freezer into your oven. You can also use small Pyrex bowls and do the same thing that I'm doing here. So just spread it on. And let's see. Or, you know, sometimes if you have company coming, you may, again, be one person or a small family. It's nice to make big batches of these kind of things. Pull it out if you've got a family coming, or perhaps you have a potluck to go to. And in this busy lifestyle that we need, or that we have, it is important that we eat well, that we feed ourselves well, and also our families, our friends, our loved ones. And whenever I make this meat, it takes me a couple of hours by the time that I fry everything up and grind everything, so that I make about 5 pounds of meat at a time. I use a whole head of cauliflower at least, and as I said, whatever other veggies I have on hand. So I probably wind up with around 8 pounds of meat or meat mixture by the time I'm done. And this does save me time during the busy weeks. Okay, so once I have the amount of meat in there that I want, then the next thing I do is I have a fresh goat chev, and I put that on. If you make a smaller amount, you can get smaller logs. This, I believe, is an 8-ounce one. But if you even don't use all of that, what you can do is you can put it in your freezer. So don't put it in your refrigerator. I've done that, and the issue is sometimes if you're busy, you forget how long you've had it in there. And it's white. And as you know, cheese will mold, and you don't want to be eating mold, and then you don't want to throw it away if it's not bad. So as soon as I'm done with my cheese log, if I don't use it all, it goes right in the freezer. And then that way I know that it is fresh for whenever the next time is. It's hard though, so when you take it out the next time to use it, you do need to give it a little bit of time to unthaw. So I just take my fresh chev and space it out here the way that I like it, and do whatever works for you. And it looks like I'm going to have a little bit left over. That will go in my freezer. And here I've already grated, if you can see right here, I have some goat mozzarella, some goat cheddar. I mix those together. I've shredded it already for you. And now you can make a couple of pans, which sometimes I do. Depending on what I've got going on, I may make a couple of pans, and what I do with cheese and everything, I cover it with foil, it goes right into the freezer. And then the next time I need a quick dish, I take it out. If I'm going to be gone all day, I have appointments all day, I have a busy day planned, I will take it out in the morning, and by the time that I am ready for dinner, it's thawed, I can put it in. You bake it at about 350, depending on how you want it, of course, to heat all the way through. You want your cheese to melt. Then you will bake it somewhere around 30 minutes, 45 minutes, around 350. And when you take it out, you can serve it with salsa. You can put chopped cilantro on the top. You can do olives on the top. You know, any kind of your typical, what you would think of Mexican type of toppings. That is very good. You can do lettuce on top. You can do a variety of things. So anyway, there you have it. And you just have to bake it again, 350, for approximately 30 to 45 minutes. So, I want to thank you very much for joining me, Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow, expansions.com. I want you to take the time to feed yourself very, very well. Be healthy. Feed yourself healthy in your food, in what you put in your mind, and what goes into your soul. And all of that will add to the quality of your life, how you feel, and how your loved ones feel. This is all about enjoying the journey. So this is part of it. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's be good to ourselves, because you know what? You're worth it. You deserve that. Work on your self-worth issues. Do your affirmations every day. Keep joy in your heart when you cook, because that's going to go in there, and again, that's going to make everybody else feel healthy and happy and well. Take care until next time. Bye-bye.